Part 20. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 200. Luogu's words not only did not give Daisuke any comfort, but made him even more entangled. Under normal circumstances, the more powerful the combat power of this kind of guy with unknown origins and unknown purposes, the harder it should be to deal with it, right? Luogu comforted her with a smile. It doesn't matter. Not everything in this world has to be explained. If she likes to come, then just come. If there is any problem, it won't be easy to solve. Trouble. If you are willing, you can try to build a good relationship with her and figure out every weakness of hers. Even if there are any problems in the future, you can quickly solve them. Dashki was dumbfounded when he heard this. This kind of operation is so excessive. It's too much. A voice suddenly came from behind, and Daisuke thought it was his own heartfelt voice. As a result, when she turned around, Perona, who was supposed to leave with Makita, unexpectedly appeared behind her at some point. Daisuke had a sense of time travel for a moment, and subconsciously looked at the top of his head, as if he had forgotten that he did not have the ability to see through eyes. Finally, he rubbed his face and said, "Who can tell me what happened?" Perona didn't care about her and said to Luogu, "Why can you just say such a vicious plan casually? It's so bad to take advantage of other people's friendship." Luogu smiled slightly. If a friendship is doomed to betrayal, then it is not a true friendship. Falsehood will eventually be shattered, and truth can last forever. What a strange line. Perona floated her body casually and came to Luogu. Before you became a pirate hunter, were you engaged in religious propaganda? It's a mess. Luogu gave her a white look. Since you have heard it, you might as well be open and honest, and tell them directly what your weaknesses are. Only by being honest can you exchange for true friendship. It seems very reasonable, but I refuse. Perona said, friendship is relative. The friendship obtained by selling yourself is cheap and ridiculous, and the most important thing is that it is very sad. It's boring. Luogu shook his head. Take a good rest, don't get a soul to come out and run around, and be careful of causing trouble. By the way, if you want to save people, you'd better get rid of this idea as soon as possible. That guy is destined to become me. The bounty in your pocket. In addition, as a devil fruit capable user, I advise you not to go to the lower prisons casually. Maybe you will be soft and weak, and you won't be able to get up in the end, so don't expect me to save you. Ruthless. Right. Perona finally crawled out from the ceiling angrily, while Dashki remained dumbfounded. Is she a human or a ghost? It's just a special devil fruit ability user, Luogu said. Mishita came back outside the door at this time and said very confidently, she seems to have fallen asleep. Now I am a little doubtful. She got on the boat just to find a place to catch up on her sleep. Otherwise, why did she just lie down and just fell asleep? She not only likes to sleep, but also likes to sleepwalk. Luogu warned her, when you go to bed at night, don't worry too much if you encounter Perona who is sleepwalking. Basically, there won't be any big problems. After speaking, turn around and go out. Mishita asked Daisuke blankly, what do you mean? Daisuke shrugged his shoulders, you know, we have always had a hard time understanding what the captain thinks. I understand. Mishita suddenly showed an understanding expression. Dashki was at a loss. He might not be able to understand what she said. Why could Mishita understand it? Luogu returned to his room. He no longer wanted to worry about the noise. Walking around in the horror bark, although it can't be said that it is physically and mentally exhausted, it is still a little bit reconciled. Seeing that million yuan is right in front of me, but I can't get it, I feel a little distressed. Lying on the bed and looking at the ceiling, I used this calmness to soothe my heartache, and then open the gap between the depressions. The biggest gain is probably a sabram, the ability to invisibly cannot be more perfect. However, Looking at Ace and Asiblam in the cell, Roga was a little tangled. With such a foundation, it's really difficult to put people in here later. The next 3 people must at least have good abilities. Although the devil fruit has countless abilities, but there are many strange ones, Luaga really has no interest in those. Or, just find 3 people, put them in, and then start whipping them hard. Turning to look at another cell with crocodile's head, he sighed. Suddenly, I felt that such a thing as a lottery, no matter what kind of preparation it was of little significance. The ability of the people in the cell before was pretty good. As a result, he couldn't get the ability he wanted no matter what. Instead, he got skills like ballet and painting. Although the painting skill is indeed a great help to some extent, but the ballet is rather tricky, so far he has not thought of any way to use this skill. No, to be precise, he had no intention of using this ability at all. Gently knocking on his forehead, he decided to let nature take its course. And now the most natural thing is probably to fall asleep. When I woke up, it was already dark. Coming out of the room, the sea breeze blowing at night immediately woke Luogu up. Deep sea water, undulating waves, the ship moved forward without any waves. I can still hear the girls' laughter in my ears. Laughter. Luogu was a little puzzled. He came to the railing and looked down. On the next deck, I saw 3 girls sitting in a circle around the table. Changing glasses, drinking, laughing, and eating, it seemed that the atmosphere was unprecedentedly lively. Did I sleep for an afternoon, or for several days? Luogu was a little confused. Why did he feel that after waking up, the relationship between these people suddenly became better? However, Luogu was not particularly interested in their situation. He patted his face lightly to wake himself up a little, and finally climbed along the net to the observation deck. Pick up a telescope and observe your surroundings. Of course, this is a secondary purpose. His real purpose is because of the strong wind here. I always feel that blowing the air seems to be very comfortable. As a result, as I looked at it, I really saw some different scenery. He took off the telescope, rubbed his eyes, put it back on, and took a closer look. Well, it is indeed a pirate ship, that's right. Luogu nodded with satisfaction, turned over and jumped directly from the observation deck. Get ready, there is prey. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 201. Bookmark the URL to continue reading next time. Woman is a very magical creature. They always become friends inexplicably, and then turn against each other because of inexplicable things. Now the 3 people on the first deck suddenly became good friends for some unknown reason. Drinking and singing together, the atmosphere is unprecedentedly warm. They were so enthusiastic that Luogu told them that they had prey, but they didn't even pay attention to Luogu. Luogu's face turned dark. I said, there is prey. He cranked up his volume, showing that he wasn't in a good mood right now. Captain, drink. Dashki stood up suddenly, raised his cup and said loudly, I won't go home until I'm drunk. Luogu's eyes were wide open. He thought that this guy would not dare to drink like this since he got drunk and ate his own devil fruit last time. What is this? Have the scars healed and forgotten the pain? I just said that the matter was written off, and now I'm starting to let myself go. Captain, come on. Mikita pulled Luogu's sleeve and said, don't worry about pirates or anything like that. When can you not make money? Now is the time to drink. What did you do when you drank last time? He said some strange words, but they sounded very good, like I wish I could stay drunk and never wake up. Although I don't quite understand what it means, it sounds very touching. Come on, I respect you. I respect you too. Perona's face turned red. She stood up and said vaguely, please give me more advice in the future. Teach your sister. Luogu looked at the 3 almost unconscious women with a speechless face, somewhat powerless. Turning his head to look at the pirate ship, he found that the pirate ship seemed to have found their tracks and was rushing towards them. I said, "They are here," Logogu said with a dark face. "Are you really capable? Drink wine. Get drunk and then rest. Don't get drunk. Uncle." Logogu stood up with a dark face, and pulled out the black pill that was with him. After getting closer, the lights on the pirate ship shone, allowing him to clearly see the pirate flag on the ship. "It looks a bit familiar," he thought carefully. After a while, "I have indeed seen it. It seems to be the ship of the guy named Thunderbolt, but that pirate has been handed over to the Navy by me. I didn't expect to encounter this ship." Logogu had a strange expression on his face. On that island that day, he originally planned to kill Baolei and the captain of the Black Book pirates. But they each explained some things, which made Logogu temporarily dispel this idea. Among them, Thunder said that he knows the location of a devil fruit, and the permanent pointer pointing to the location of the devil fruit is on his ship. Later, after this battle, Rogu was seriously injured, but the two pirates were not as strong as Ace's psychological quality. During the process, Thunder told Makita and Darth where the permanent pointer was hidden and how to open it. In exchange for better treatment. However, because the ship could not be found at all, Logogu was not too persistent. Unexpectedly, they encountered this ship again. Thinking in my heart, this ship is already approaching. However, after getting closer, they seemed to have discovered something. Suddenly, the fast-moving ship stopped and began to change direction. "It's really them." Logogu's eyes lit up. If he hadn't recognized himself, they would have had no reason to leave. Thinking of this, he no longer cared about the three women on the boat. In 2 steps, he had already arrived at the side of the boat. He stepped on the railing with 1 foot and jumped. The 2 ships were about to get close, and the distance was not very far at this time. Logogu jumped hard, and the distance of 20 or 30 meters passed by the mountain. In the blink of an eye, he had landed on the deck of the opposite ship. When the pirates saw it, they were immediately encircled, and with a loud clang, their swords were unsheathed, and they were about to attack. Why does Logogu care about this? With a flash of the sword, the 2 pirates in front of them were cut in half. "Give up your weapons or die." Logogu's voice was cold. "Then, stop the boat." Otherwise, he was worried that after the 3 women sobered up, they would find their captain missing. There are always those who are timid and afraid of death, and immediately drop anchor obediently, and the sails are also hoisted. Then Logogu saw a man dressed as a captain walking over. This man gave Logogu a feeling of cowardice, but the 4 lines of writing hanging beside him made Logogu be more careful. Wanted order. Liar essay. Bounty of 1 million belly. According to the qualifications of being arrested. Logogu looked a little surprised. Why had Liar never seen this guy before? No, maybe he had, but he didn't take it to heart. Moreover, I remember that the bounty for that thunderstorm was not as high as million. How come this guy has such a high bounty? The thoughts in my mind were racing, and I heard Vincent say, "We don't have any ill intentions towards you. P.S. Book friends, I am a poor little pure author." Recently, many readers have reported that they cannot find the entrance to reading. I now recommend a free novel app that supports novel downloads, listening to books, 0 ads, and multiple reading modes. It can almost find all the books on the internet. For details, please spend half a minute following the WeChat official account Bookfinder. Click the account in the upper right corner of WeChat, add a friend, select the public account, enter, search and add the official account, and then press just follow the instructions. Book friends, please pay attention. Logogu nodded, believing it. I'm just passing by here. I'll leave soon. Can you let us go? Logogu thought for a while and said, give me a reason to let you go. I know a big secret about the whole world, and the reason why I came here is because of this. Under the current ocean, this piece of historical text is hidden. The secret hidden in it will make you rich, so, we are willing to exchange the secret, and hope you can let us go. Luogu's heart suddenly moved. Historical text. Rich as a country. He nodded immediately, okay, I'll let it go. Just when he said this, he suddenly felt something was wrong. Wait, when will the historical text appear in this place? Even if it appears here, there is no big secret in the historical text. Deep under the sea. How could they know there was such a thing deep under the sea? Is it just random nonsense? But why did I believe it just now without even thinking about it? He was about to turn around and stopped suddenly. What kind of devil fruit powers do you have? Raku asked. Vincent smiled, I don't have the ability of devil fruit. Luogu nodded, I believe you. The next second, he suddenly came in front of Vincent. Vincent was stunned for a moment, and saw the chains flying across the sky. In a split second, he had tied them into a rice dumpling. Luogu only felt that his mind was clear and clear. It was originally a lie full of loopholes, but in an instant it could no longer hide the slightest bit from him. I go. Luogu was stunned, is your devil fruit ability a lie? Vincent was also dumbfounded, why can you break through the shackles of the fruits of my lies? Remember the domain name in 1 second. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 202. The Fruit of Lies. Hearing this, Luogu felt that his mind was a little foggy. There is such a weird thing? What kind of devil fruit is this? Superman became a liar. The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched, but it was undeniable that this thing was indeed very powerful. If it is used well, the flaws are not too obvious, and they will basically be fooled. At least, the other party said just now that there are some historical texts under the sea. If he hadn't been relatively clear about this aspect, he would never have doubted it. At that moment, I really believed his words. Until now, after his devil fruit ability was blocked by chains, Luogu walked out of the power of lies. Looking back on what happened just now, I feel that the whole process is full of absurdity. He actually believed that they were just passing by and had no ill intentions toward them. If it weren't for the professional ethics of being a pirate hunter, he would have almost let them go at that time. However, it was precisely because of this professional ethics that I realized that it would cost me to let them go, which led to the lies in the text of the history, which led me to discover the loophole and lock it immediately. Let this fish go. Here's a pirate worth million. Wait. Luogu suddenly remembered his name, Vincent. Huh, Vincent's thin face suddenly became tense. He knew Luogu. After all, the scene at that time left a deep impression on him. It was because of their acquaintance that they did not dare to provoke him, and when they saw Luogu appearing, they even planned to run away without saying a word. But I didn't expect to fall into this field. Hearing Luogu speak at this time, he immediately became very energetic. I seem to remember this name, Luogu said thoughtfully, I heard that you killed me. After waking up from a serious illness at that time, he heard some things told him by Dashiki and Makita. For example, when he was seriously ill, Ace disappeared, and Blackbeard lost his head, someone lied that they did it all. Thus, in one fell swoop, he became a big pirate from an ordinary pirate. It is said that there are 3 pirates, each with a reward of hundreds of millions. One of them's name happened to be Vincent. Luogu looked at him with squinted eyes at this time. How did you kill me? Tell me carefully. Vincent's whole face suddenly twitched. Please, please spare me. How can I take out the money that falls into my pocket? Luogu glanced at the other pirates on the boat, then smiled and said to Vincent, "How about you tell me what happened to you? After all, the ability to lie is still very wonderful. I'm quite curious about this." Luogu looked at the big and small pirates on the pirate ship. There is nothing of too high value, only one Vincent was taken away by him, and the others let them do what they like. It's not interesting to catch the little pirates, and they didn't find any dark deeds that violated Luogu's moral code on their ship, so let's let it go. What if there are several more famous guys in the future, wouldn't that be able to generate income again? Taking Vincent back to his own ship, the three women on the deck were still in full swing, completely unaware that their captain was busy arresting people when they were intoxicated. Luogu looked at them and shook his head helplessly. "I won't give you any of the money this time." Huh. He took Vincent to the lower prison, where Asabram was curled up and sleeping. When he saw Luogu, he immediately shouted, "Let me out." "Very good, I have no food tomorrow," Luogu said. "You think I'm afraid?" Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 203. So, the two of us are actually quite destined. Luogu smiled after listening to Vincent's story. "Look, because I captured Thunder, you became the new captain. Because I killed Blackbeard and captured Ace, you became a great pirate. Worth up to million. In the end, you were caught by me because of me. If you think about it carefully, it is simply a bad fate." Vincent was about to cry. "Isn't it just evil fate? I am actually an honest person, an ordinary person," Vincent said. "How about you let me go?" Luogu shook his head. "I can't let you go. Your ability is very interesting. If you use it well, it can almost become a catastrophe. People like you should really be held in hand to really make people feel at ease. Well, don't worry, I won't keep you in my hands forever. When you meet the Navy later, you can move." Vincent's already frowning face suddenly became even more frowning. Although his fruit ability is powerful, the problem is that he is suppressed now, and there are still sea stones all around him. No matter how much he lied, he would be exposed easily, and there was no way to escape. Seeing him like this, Luogu comforted him. Okay, 9 times out of 10 things in life are unsatisfactory. You are so sad now. Look at me, as the leader of a small group of pirate hunters, I encountered pirates in the middle of the night attack. As a result, as the leader, I had to roll up my arms and sleeves and take action myself. Although I gained a thing like you through this, it was also a bitter tear. In short, what kind of things will a person encounter in this life? Especially in this sea, anything can happen. A temporary trough is nothing. As long as you don't give up, there is always a chance to start over. Believe in yourself. Luogu is also bored, otherwise he wouldn't be chatting with Vincent. The deck was really unwilling to go up, and the three drunken women felt headaches watching them. Vincent nodded, thinking that Luogu's words were quite reasonable. But after thinking about it, it's not right. Isn't my low point the result of you? Now you still say this kind of seemingly comforting words. You are simply playing with me. For a moment, he couldn't help but glared at Luogu. Luogu curled his lips. "Why are you looking at me like that? By the way, how old are you this year? Were you married when you went to sea? Do you have children at home? How many are there?" He really had nothing to do, and started looking for Vincentra. Vincent didn't know what to say anymore. This was simply torture. Asablam next to him couldn't help laughing, as if he thought the scene in front of him was funny. Then he saw Luogu turning his head and asked, "Why are you laughing? By the way, are you married? Do you have children? How many?" Asabram was silent for a while, then burst into tears. Who can understand the cry from a single dog? Luogu and Vincent comforted Asablam together, telling him not to cry. Why would a good man worry about not finding a wife? There are a lot of good-looking girls in this sea. Three-legged sea kings are hard to find, but there are plenty of two-legged women, so and so, so and so. Chattering, chattering, Luogu took a nap during the day, and chatted with the two prisoners refreshed at night. The last two prisoners bothered him. I thought to myself, why isn't this guy leaving? Could there be a little more peace and quiet in here? In the end, Luogu finally had enough chatting, nodded with satisfaction, stood up, and said to Asabram, let's chat, let's make trouble, you will still have no food in the next few days. Asabram was speechless for a while. This guy has not forgotten. Luogu smiled and clapped his hands, and came out of the prison contentedly. I was bored and chatted with the prisoners, and I was much happier. However, after walking out of the kitchen, Luogu's mood suddenly became melancholy. The three women were still exchanging glasses, each of them was drinking with blurred eyes, and couldn't speak fluently. Mishita held up the wine glass tremblingly, her hands softened. Pirate's Bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 204. Early morning. On the deck, Luogu was flipping through today's newspaper. Most of it in the news is cliché, nothing big happening. What should be noisy is still noisy, what should be toss is still tossing, what should be calm is still calm. Obviously it should be a very noisy sea. Why am I living like a retired veteran cotter? Sometimes Luogu is also reflecting on whether he has done something wrong. Otherwise, why did it become the current situation? In the end, life should be full of vitality, and doing things is the root of everything, right? Thinking about the experience of causing trouble some time ago, as well as the experience of being seriously injured, Luogu couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth again. But you are just making trouble, so you still have to be careful not to overturn. The sound of footsteps came from the side of the ear, but the sound stumbled, appeared in a hurry, and then rushed into the side of the ship, and began to vomit crazily. Like a rainbow venting, Luogu watched with a blank expression. After a while, there were footsteps again. Luogu didn't want to read it, so he simply picked up the newspaper again and continued to read the text on it. After a while, the three of them lined up, and the rainbow floated. After a while, three figures sitting on the deck appeared in front of Luogu as if they were despairing. Luogu put down the newspaper in his hand. Is it fun? The three of them looked at Luogu expressionlessly at the same time. Mishita showed a crying face. Captain, I'm going to die. I feel so dizzy, I feel like the world is spinning. Dashki looked up and said, what a wonderful world. Why are there three suns in the sky, and they are still dancing? Perona stood up strongly. This is all because of the hangover. You must not drink so much in the future. Besides, you two are still not as good as me. Let me tell you. Gudong, clatter. After being stunned for about 10 seconds, Dusky and Mishita woke up as if from a dream. Perona fell into the water. Captain, help. These two are devil fruit capable users, both of them are landlubbers, and they can't go into the water at all. Even if they could get into the water, with their current state of being unable to stand up, they really couldn't do anything. With a dark face, Luogu took off his jacket and jumped into the water. A moment later, he fished out the corpse like Perona. Chest compressions, artificial respiration. A series of rescue techniques were performed, and Perona once again sprayed out pure colorful rainbows from her mouth, and opened her eyes in confusion. The sun is so bright, why do I sleep on the deck? The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched. One or two, if you can't drink it, just drink less, can't you? Makita and Dashiki struggled to come to Perona, and after confirming that the guy was still alive, they breathed a sigh of relief. The three women had their feet in three directions and their heads together, as if this would make them feel more secure. What a beautiful feeling. Mishita ignored Luogu's words at all. It feels like we have formed a wonderful combination and are flying freely in the sky. I feel like my swordsmanship has matured and I have a new inspiration. So sad. The three expressed their own opinions, and finally Rogu found that Perona was the most authentic. It's right to be uncomfortable. How could this kind of hangover not be uncomfortable? Do you really think of yourself as an Iron Man? Helpless, Rogu rolled up his arms and sleeves, and finally went to the kitchen to start preparing breakfast. The cook was drunk and in a state of hangover, and as the captain, she could only shoulder the heavy responsibility of cooking. After all, if you don't do it, you will starve to death, right? How do you make the hangover soup? Rogu began to think carefully. When he was drunk before, Mishita made something for him, add a little potato shreds, a little Russell leaves, and some vinegar. Do you want soy sauce? By the way, do you want to add rapeseed oil? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 206. The end result was that several women suffered from vomiting and diarrhea that lasted into the night. After everything was over, things like hangover soup became a taboo on this ship, and even the sequelae were that almost everyone ordered Rogu not to touch the kitchen. They were worried that one day, after receiving some strange food from Rogu's hands, they might directly end their lives, and it would not be as simple as vomiting and diarrhea. Rogu was non-committal about this result, saying that when they were hungover in the future, they would still be willing to make special hangover soup for them. Then several women swore that they would never drink so much again. Rogu remained non-committal about this. What the hell, anyway, after getting drunk, there is still a bowl of delicious hangover soup. It was only on the third day after this incident that they noticed that there was one more person in the lower prison. After inquiring about the situation, I found out that on the night they were drunk, Rogu solved a pirate group by himself and captured the leader of the pirate group. This made them a little bit embarrassed. Well, except for Perona, Perona's main emotion comes from regret. She came to this ship just to see how they operate at sea, but she didn't expect that there would be a lot of excitement on the first night, but she didn't see it. In the next few days, it was even more peaceful, as if they were the only boat in the entire sea. Not even a few merchant ships. All the way was calm until the next town, where Rogu's big pirate hunter ship docked at the port without causing any commotion. Because without those words, not only the pirates couldn't find a target to escape from, but even ordinary people wouldn't know what the ship was for. In order not to attract more attention, Rogu sneaked a few people to the Navy branch until late at night, in exchange for a bounty. I stayed in the small town for 2 days, purchased some useful things, and then continued sailing. There is a saying, if there are words, it will be long, and if there are no words, it will be short. The following voyage can be described as smooth sailing. Of course, it is not that I have encountered pirates, especially those pirates who regard this ship as an ordinary merchant ship. It can be described as moths to the flame. Their only role was to bolster Rogu's bounty accumulation, while also making an indelible contribution to the ship's supplies. As pirates, they prey on ordinary people. As pirate hunters, they can plunder pirates, and they will never place a bounty for it. On the deck, it was still so calm. Practicing day and night, Maketan now looks a little majestic. After waving her sore arms, she floated to the observation deck, picked up the binoculars to watch, and then compared the nautical chart. Finally, he came down from above and said to Rogu, "Captain, we estimate that we will be able to reach the Shampoo Islands in 2 days." Rogu raised his head, glanced at the sea, and then nodded, "Very good." The Shampoo Islands are in an extremely critical position in the world of pirates. First of all, it is very close to the Navy headquarters, and secondly, this is the island of redeparture, which is the entrance to the New World in the second half of the Great Route. The first half of the voyage is over here. Once entering the New World, it is like entering another world, a real group of demons dancing wildly, the most terrifying area on this sea. However, in this way, the final destination will be infinitely closer. Luogu closed his eyes. 4 emperors. Now with his strength, can he match up with the 4 emperors? If you think about it carefully, it still seems too dangerous. Although during this period of time, his strength has also improved significantly. After all, as long as he has money, he can infinitely improve his strength. It's a pity that the pirates are a bit disappointing. Although they caught a lot, in terms of bounty, he still hasn't made rapid progress in gold coins. Pirates' bounty don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 207. Go directly to the Chambord Islands and experience the unique culture of Chambord. This is what Luogu originally wanted to do. But Lester's sudden call made him only disrupt this rhythm. No way, who made him accidentally expose the information that he was about to arrive at the Shampoo Islands? What caused this guy's eager request to see him at the Navy headquarters? But the question is, as a pirate hunter, can he enter the Navy headquarters? After this question was raised, Lester immediately patted his chest and said, "For my sake, I promise that your actions in the Navy headquarters will be like walking in your own back garden." This made Luogu almost suspect that this guy was the one with the ability of the face fruit, right? Of course, it's still not as exaggerated as the red-haired one. Helpless, turned the bow and went straight to the Navy headquarters. When he was about to arrive, he saw a familiar ship and a somewhat familiar person standing on the deck. Black Cantina. Is it an accident? After all, outside of the Navy headquarters, meeting her shouldn't be anything special. But he soon learned that this was no accident. Obviously, the woman in front of him came to pick him up, so it really is a fruit of face. The two ships approached each other, and after a long absence, Tina once again set foot on the big ship of the pirate hunter. Long time no see, the pirate hunter who impressed Tina deeply. Yeah, long time no see. Luogu smiled slightly. I remind you. In fact, before today, Tina almost forgot that there are guys like you at sea. Tina looked at the ship. It seems different. After some interesting transformations, Luogu smiled. Is there any cargo worth taking? No. Tina is very disappointed. When she said disappointment, she was disappointed, and the expression on her face fully reflected all the concepts of the word disappointment. Luogu almost wanted to laugh. Being able to interpret his expression so vividly is not something ordinary people can do. Then he asked, "What's next?" "If you follow Tina's ship, there will be an independent port for you to dock." Tina said, "Don't worry, Lester still has a lot of face. And you are also very famous. I thought it was because of my obscurity that you almost forgot my existence." Tina lied. Tina glanced at Luogu. "In fact, I can hear your name all the time, and the Navy headquarters often discusses you, but I want to know why you don't work in the Navy. After all, pirate hunters are still not on the stage." Luogu was non-committal to such a statement. Tina didn't say much, turned around and returned to her ship, leading the way, and soon arrived at the Navy headquarters. It is true that there is a special port to accommodate external ships. Luogu also saw some merchant ships, and he doesn't know why they came here. Except for Luogu, everyone on the boat was quite excited. "I didn't expect to have the opportunity to visit the Navy headquarters," Makita said excitedly. "When I was an agent in the past, I never thought that such a day would come." "Yes, at that time all you thought was that you would not be hungry if you were full. I'm not that carefree. No, what I'm trying to say is, you just don't have a brain. Captain, even if you are the captain, if you say this, I will be angry." Makita waved her small fist and said viciously. But found Daisuke beside him with a complicated expression. What's wrong? Mikita asked in a low voice. I remembered the scene when I was trained here, Daisuke said with a smile. I thought that when I came back again, I must be a navy, but I didn't expect that it was a pirate hunter. Pirate hunters are also pretty good, Mishita said. Pirate's bounty don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 208. Just hearing this voice, Luogu couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Looking up again, I saw the familiar retard kicking from the sky. A little hesitant, Luogu looked at the black pill in his hand, and then at the big iron rod behind him. He was hesitating, and he touched the handle of the iron rod. Is this probably the choice of Steins Gate? With the iron rod in his hand, he suddenly waved it. Let's go. The arrogant voice fell instantly, but halfway it turned into despair. Ah! Bang! The iron rod fell firmly on Lester's body, and with a bang, it landed directly on the ground. Under the iron rod, Lester's mouth was crooked and his eyes were squinting, and bubbles were coming out of the corners of his mouth. Tina leaned over, knelt down, poked Lester's face with her finger, and then commented on Luogu's blow. It's ruthless. Thank you. Luogu nodded in satisfaction, and put away the iron rod. Both Daisuke and Mikita were stunned, even Perona was a little confused, looking at Lester on the ground, wondering where the joke came from. What is his purpose? Sending people 1,000 miles? Footsteps came from around the corner. Rogu followed the sound and saw Garp again. This guy seemed to be a little older again. His eyes glanced at Luogu's body, and then he ignored it. When it landed on Lester on the ground, he sighed helplessly. Since we are friends, let's take a rest this afternoon and continue tomorrow. Don't be lazy. After finishing speaking, he put one hand in his pocket and rushed to the door, and disappeared in the courtyard in a blink of an eye. Grateful. Lester's roaring voice sounded, and this guy actually resurrected on the spot again. Then he looked at Luogu full of energy. Come on Luogu, let you see the results of my practice. Didn't you already see it just now? Luogu asked. Really? Lester scratched his head. Oh, it hurts. I always feel like I forgot something. Did something just happen? Looks like I lost my memory. Tina blinked and gave Luogu a thumbs up. Tina admires it. Rogu was speechless. Lester roared, Rogu, come and let me. Bang. Before he finished speaking, the stick fell, and Lester continued to speak crookedly. Everyone looked at Luogu together. It was true that the attack just now was because of Lester's sneak attack, but it was a bit too much for you to come here all of a sudden, right? Luogu looked at the iron rod in his hand, scratched his head and said, if I said that I didn't want to hit him just now, but I couldn't control my hand, would you believe it? Everyone shook their heads together. Luogu could only sigh. In that case, there is another explanation. I heard that people who have lost their memory will regain their memory by just hitting their heads hard. Everyone, oh. You actually believe it? Luogu was stunned. Have they also experienced the abuse of movies and TV series in their early years? However, Lester suddenly stood up again at this time. Why hit me? And hit me twice. Really recovered? Mikita and Daisuke cheered together. The captain is amazing. Tina rubbed her forehead, always feeling that there was an inexplicable aura of mental retardation hovering over this space. If she didn't want to become mentally retarded herself, she could only leave here as soon as possible. Tina has something else to do. Let's go first. After she finished speaking, she ran away in a hurry. Lester was still puzzled. Why are you in such a hurry? I plan to introduce you a little bit, an older young man and an older leftover woman. You two need to get to know each other better. Tina didn't look back. Lester looked at Luogu blankly. You must be so ugly that you scared everyone away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 210. The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched, he was speechless. He was general. A guy who has never been in a relationship, why is he still talking about believing in his own experience? Lester mocked Rogu inhumanely, is your experience just watching people in pairs, kiss me and me? Luogu was silent for a while, and then Kuroguchi pulled out an inch, I'll give you another chance to reorganize the language. I was wrong. There was something wonderful in Lester's character, which saved his life at the critical moment. That was probably a kind of power called Kungzin. The power of Kungzin fooled him. But seeing Luogu's appearance of not being ready to accept it at all, he was still a little upset, so after confirming that Luogu would not kill him directly, he said again, so, are you willing or not? Of course I don't want to. Luogu refused without hesitation for a second. Although it was true that Tina was really good looking, he had absolutely no intention of doing such a blind date out of nowhere, which even became a bargaining chip in marriage. And speaking of this, he doesn't intend to continue wasting time with Lester. If you come to me just to talk about such boring things, then we'll leave. Mishita, Duska, and Perona immediately stood up and made preparations to leave. Etc., etc. Lester quickly said, why do you have to leave after such an easy trip? Stay here for 2 days, if you don't stay for 2 days, you just don't treat me as a friend. Luogu really wanted to say something to him, but after thinking about it, he sighed again. Whether you want to admit it or not, this guy is indeed your only friend in this world, right? The few on the boat are not counted, they are regarded as partners. Seeing that he wouldn't leave, Lester immediately arranged a room for them happily. His yard is not small, and there are quite a lot of rooms. He lives here alone, and there are many vacant rooms. After making the arrangements, Lester said, okay, let's take a look at your room and tidy it up. It's time for dinner later. After Luogu and others entered the room, Lester smiled secretly, everyone is here, do you want me to still make the decision? Do you really think that my long time in the Navy was in vain? Stay for a few days, there will always be things like love and contact. As he turned and walked back, he began to outline the subsequent conspiracy in his mind. The first day at the Navy headquarters was uneventful. If Lester's sudden ambition is not counted, there is a real purpose. The dinner was very good, and the Navy would never treat themselves badly. The food they eat is highly nutritious and the portions are adequate, so they don't worry about the soldiers eating too much at all. Because often eating this kind of thing also represents a part of strength. If a person goes on a diet for a long time, his physical strength will be completely lost. Luogu was quite satisfied with this. He ate about 10 servings for dinner, and then he patted his stomach in satisfaction. Lester was amazed. Just looking at his appetite, it is normal that he could not beat him. After waking up the next morning, Luogu found that he couldn't find his crew. After searching for several times, I finally saw Lester making preparations in the yard. He was planning to start training for the day. After asking, Lester said with a smile, I introduced a few friends to them, all girls in the Navy, and took them shopping. By the way, there are still many places that only women can go, and men are not allowed. Most importantly, I am responsible for all expenses. Luogu was stunned, and then looked at Lester with pity, do you know what you did? Of course I know, Lester said as a matter of course, never underestimate a woman's shopping ability, of course I would not make such a low-level mistake, simply, based on my identity, I want to get 1, 2, 10 there is no problem with the 8 discount cards. So, they are free to buy it, and I can afford it? So, the corner of Luogu's mouth twitched, I spent a lot of time to drive them away, do you have something to tell me? Or is there some conspiracy? We all came from the same village, How could I use some kind of conspiracy against you? While Lester was speaking, there were footsteps coming from far and near, and when he looked up, he saw Tina walking slowly. Come over. It seems that he is still a little reluctant, and the cigarette dangling from his mouth is emitting a puff of impatient smoke. Here it is. Lester immediately stepped forward. How's your breakfast? How's your body today? Stop talking nonsense. Tina took a puff of cigarette and puffed out smoke that filled the sky. Why did you ask me to come here so early in the morning? Isn't this my friend here? Lester said with a smile. You know I can't leave at all for training this day, and he doesn't know anyone in the Navy. It's not easy for me to find a few strangers. Take him to visit the Navy headquarters. After all, he has a bad temper. If something goes wrong with his words, unpleasant things may happen. In contrast, the two of you have been in contact before and are considered friends. Therefore, I can only ask for your help. Tina sighed. Okay, Tina understands. Then she glanced at Luogu. Go. After finishing speaking, regardless of whether Luogu wanted to follow up, he turned around and left. The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched. He must have seen a ghost if he could keep up. And, what about this girl? It wasn't like that when we met yesterday. Just wondering. Lester quickly pushed him. Go, have fun. You don't want to spend all the days in the Navy headquarters with me? Others will doubt the relationship between you and me. So hurry up and hurry up. Without these words, Luogu would never have gone. But after saying this, Luogu became passive again. Being gossiped about what he has to do with Lester. If this kind of thing is spread across the sea, will he still be a fool? Moreover, once he chooses to stay, he will definitely gossip about it. Why? Because of Lester. This guy will never let his plan go to waste with all his efforts, so he will definitely make it happen. And Makita and the others didn't know where to hang out, and they really had no choice but to leave immediately. At the moment, he could only sigh, and pointed at Lester. You remember. After finishing speaking, he followed behind Tina's buttocks as if resigned to his fate. If the chapter is wrong, click here to report. Pirate's Bounty. Don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 211. The two people went out one after the other. Luogu was not sure how to deal with the current situation, when Tina in front suddenly stopped. Turning around, he looked at Luogu with fierce eyes. Luogu frowned. What's the matter? When we met this morning, the nose is not the nose, and the eyes are not the eyes. Find fault and fight? As far as fighting is concerned, he really doesn't have much to worry about. Immediately, he frowned and looked at her, then raised his eyebrows, thinking that if there is any trick, just do it, I will follow it. Tina froze for a moment, then frowned and said, Tina is very unhappy. So, Luogu encircled, what does your unhappiness have to do with me? Tina doesn't like this way of meeting, and she doesn't want to associate with you for this reason. Tina said seriously, so, don't think too much. Why do you feel like you misunderstood something? Luogu patted his forehead lightly. Coincidentally, I don't like this feeling, and I don't want to associate with you for such a reason. No, I'm not interested in dating you at all. Speaking of this, he was suddenly taken aback. Wait, you seem to know something. Tina didn't care what he said. In fact, when Luogu said, I'm not interested in dating you at all, he got into trouble. When Tina heard the sentence, she didn't listen to what Luogu said later. She frowned and approached Luogu. What did you just say? You seem to know something, Luogu said. In short, Lester is fooling around. I know he's messing around, Tina said, but why are you not interested in dating me? Aren't you also interested? Luogu scratched his head. I thought that if I said that, both of us would have less trouble. Tina can be uninterested in you, but you can't be uninterested in Tina. No woman wants to be unattractive. Tina is obviously no exception in this regard. She looked at Luogu and said seriously, Tina will give you another chance, say, you are interested in Tina. Sorry, I'm really not interested. Luogu was a little speechless. Is this sick? Forcing someone to be interested in you? Even if you get the answer you want to hear, what happiness can you get? The corner of his mouth twitched, and then he looked at the surrounding environment. It was obviously impossible to turn around and go back, otherwise Lester would not know what conspiracy he would have. Go straight, Makita and Tashiki are still wandering here. There is nothing left and right, why don't you go shopping by yourself? By the way, Navy headquarters, there are probably many secrets in this place, right? Why don't you hide yourself and go into eavesdrop on the conversation of the high-level Navy? By the way, take a peek at Sengoku's private life, then take some photos and sell them to newspapers. I just don't know if they dare to publish it. Luogu was full of thoughts, and finally turned and left. Tina stayed alone at the gate, flustered by the wind. After a while, she took a deep breath. Nalos Rogu. This matter is not over. Tina is very angry. In fact, Luogu is indeed a complete rookie when it comes to feelings and the relationship between men and women. Otherwise, he would never have said such things to Tina. Then maybe some things will have a different ending. But he didn't know, he was probably a straight man of steel who deserved to be born alone. At this time, he had come to the street from the alleyway. I thought that the naval headquarters must be heavily guarded, but I didn't expect that the street was quite lively. There are also people who buy and sell goods, and the streets are not all Navy, but a lot of civilians are seen instead. Under the rule of the Navy, life should be quite happy, at least you can't see the abjection on the faces of these people. It's right to think about it, no matter what kind of darkness there is in the Navy, it won't let the bottom of its feet fall into the mud. Luogu wandered casually in the street, looking left and right, thinking about what kind of things or goods he should buy at that time. Of course, the most important thing is to find Makita and Tashiki. You went out early in the morning without consulting yourself. Did you take your captain seriously? Suddenly, his eyes were attracted by something on a booth. Rubbing his eyes, he felt that he was probably dazzled. Devil fruit. Mumbling to himself, but feeling wrong. Why are devil fruits sold at the stalls? Really? After all, even if the Navy wants to buy this kind of thing, there is no market for it. So, there are still liars in the Navy headquarters. Luogu couldn't laugh or cry for a while. What is this all about? When I was wondering, I saw a guy dressed as a rich businessman walking over, and said with an extremely exaggerated expression, "My God, is this the fruit of God's will?" It is the strongest fruit of the natural department in the legend. With my own transform your thoughts into the will of God, and become the legendary man of God's will. Ha ha. Luogu smiled without any sincerity. It's obviously too. Then this seemingly wealthy businessman started haggling with the boss in an exaggerated tone. In the end, there were onlookers who helped raise the price. Finally, the boss refused to sell, and then left in anger. The boss also said convincingly, since it is a fruit of God's will, of course it must be sold to the person that God wants. While speaking, he suddenly pointed at Luogu, for example, him. What? Him? The rich businessman was furious. I offered million Baileys and you didn't sell them, but you wanted to sell them to him. Do you think he will have million Baileys? No, if he wants to buy it, I only want 1 million Baileys. The boss raised a finger. The fruit of God's will is only sold to the destined person. He is the destined person, so only 1 million. Look again. After finishing speaking, Luogu is turning around to leave. Hey hey! Destined man! The boss quickly shouted, why are you leaving? Luogu scratched his head. It's fun to watch a play, but let's forget about acting. Go ahead, I'll go somewhere else. Before he finished speaking, there was a sudden bang. When the smoke and dust were everywhere, I saw a dashing and heroic woman holding a cigarette in her mouth. With a calm look in her eyes, she said in an understatement, "She actually cheated in the Navy headquarters, but she took them all away." As he spoke, he flicked his hair, and his long pink hair flew in the wind. His explosive figure and deadly aura immediately made countless onlookers salivate. As for Luogu, well, he has been away for a long time. Tina's forehead was throbbing with blue veins. He let him run away. Could it be that Tina is really unattractive? This matter is not over. If the chapter is wrong, click here to report.